Audio 22. Audio 22. Audio 22. Audio 22. Audio 22. Yeah, we're up and running.
Up and running.
From Studio B, two guys whose business cards simply say, I'll call you. It's The Bottom Line with your host DJ and KJ, asking tough questions, getting real answers, and sorting through it all to get to the bottom line.
It's Wednesday night, 8 p.m. It can only mean one thing. Live from Studio B, The Bottom Line. Ken, good to be with you here again this week.
Yeah, great to be with you, DJ. Been an exciting week after last week, and man, what a great show last week.
Tell you what, Ken had a great show last week and have a great hour ahead. Let's take just a minute to pause. We spoke last week about us being one community here, the Bruton, East Bruton, the outlying areas, of course, and every time our athletic teams get together, we like to get after each other pretty good. I don't know anybody that would want it any different on either side. But when tragedy strikes, it hurts all of us. And it seems like we've had our share of that here in the last couple of weeks. And got word yesterday that the Spencer family, of course, lost their son, Devin, was in a horrific accident over in East Bruton one morning before school. I remember Devin from some of the programs he participated in the YMCA. And I think it'd be appropriate if we just took a moment of silence and remembered that family and the different things they were going through. very good. I tell you, numbing just seeing his picture there on the screen, Ken. You and I both having young children and being advocates of youth everywhere. It's just a tough set of circumstances for not only their family, but as I mentioned earlier, our community as a whole.
It really is. And, having a wife that teaches at that school system, I really want to, say we want to send out our prayers and to the family, to the friends, to the faculty and the students, everybody involved, and just say that, we are definitely the community is praying for you and with you.
Also want to continue to create some awareness for Brooke Bridges, the young teen that's been missing now for several days, maybe a week plus. And I know that Chief McGugan, along with the other outside law enforcement agencies, are continuing that search for her, and that investigation continues. And we can only hope that this one has a happy ending. And of course, if anybody has any information that may help Chief McGugan and the law enforcement officials bring this thing to a close, we certainly want that to be shared. And I think it's been very surprising to me and heartwarming to see the different people that have shared that on Facebook. It continues to show the strength that social media plays in our day-to-day communication as a society. And just so many people continue to share information and try to create some awareness. And we just hope Miss Bridges finds her way home sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we certainly do, DJ. I tell you, I can't imagine being a parent. I just can't imagine what it must feel like to, to not know exactly what's happened with your child, and only to have to sit and day by day go by, and the questions seem to just keep mounting.
I tell you again, and if you don't mind, of course, this is a little unexpected. Let's take just a quick break. I want a second or two just to kind of regroup here and get myself together for the rest of the show.
That sounds good. Not a problem. We'll be back in just a minute.
And we're back at Studio B here with the bottom line. And Ken want to quickly also recognize Lance McKenzie and his willingness to supply us with refreshments here at the Bottom Line Show in Studio B. Lance, always a friend to many, never meets a stranger, doing his part to make sure the Bottom Line has its refreshments in place.
He certainly did. Thank you again, Butch. We are absolutely appreciate the beverages that you bring, no doubt.
The bottom line is oftentimes going to be a fluid situation. We were scheduled to have Councilman Joe Watson on here with us tonight. Some circumstances arose that were outside his control. He was not able to be with us. We will certainly look forward to getting Joe back on here at a later time. But as Ken and I often do, as far as shooting from the hip, we will be joined a little bit later in the program by Bruton's favorite weatherman, Spinks Meggetson. Most people know Spinks as the head honcho of Red Zone Weather, and what a service he provides for our community. I think helmet sales and whistle sales have gone up 300% since Red Zone Weather got going, and I look forward to getting with Spinks here a little bit later in the program.
It definitely has, and Spinks is a good friend to the community. I tell you, he's in talking to Spinks earlier today, he has been extremely busy. He said, if I recall correctly, he said he can't remember this much weather happening at one time in a long time, DJ.
He's been on top of it every step of the way, I can assure you that. I remember Spinks back from the Hurricane Ivan days, and he couldn't have been, unless that's 12 years ago. Spinks is 22, 23, 24. He wasn't 11 or 12 years old at that time, and of course he was spitting out weather reports throughout Hurricane Ivan. So Spinks has been interested in weather for a long time. Does a great job covering it.
He really does. And, somebody pointed this out the other day. It's nice to have, that localized, kind of personal touch on the local weather here for us. We sometimes, most of us always had to tune in to channel, 3, 5, or 10, or even 15 to get our local news and the weather, of course. And Spinks has definitely put a local spin on it, and been a great friend of the community.
Ken, I've kind of exercised a little decision making on my own that you're not even aware of to this point, and what you've done here in the studio from a technical standpoint and being the executive producer. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. I wish everybody had the view that I had of all the blinking lights and the bells and whistles and knobs you have, but I did bring something that could benefit us a little bit later on in the program. Old reliable, just in case. I got Flipper here with us.
If we've got the flip phone, we're in good shape, DJ.
Just in case, you never can tell. The only concern I have of the many different camera angles you're having, there's no way that my head can be as fat as it looks on this computer screen with this camera. I don't know if we need to back this thing up, maybe out in the driveway somewhere, but there's just no way.
Listen,
I mean, I wear a standard size baseball cap. I wear them, kind of regularly from time to time, but there's just no way. Yeah, keep backing it up. There you go. Man, tough camera angle.
I don't think, listen, yours doesn't compete with mine, I promise you. I promise you, no way, no how. I mean, you look, just take a look at that head. I mean, just no way.
Man, that's tough.
It's tough.
My mom still loves me.
Yes. There's hope for us all.
Let's hit the rewind button just for a minute and go back to last week's show and kind of reiterate for a minute or so what this program's about, the direction we're trying to go with it, what we hope to achieve through it, and how all of you that are listening in, watching in, whatever the case may be, can be a part of it. It'll be dependent on you, the longevity and the success of this program. We enjoy, obviously, bringing it to you. We understand, like many of you do, that social media is becoming more and more the primary way that we communicate as a society, and we're trying to create a forum. We're trying to get out in front of this, be the first ones in, create a positive forum, a positive venue to where we can share information, exchange information, have healthy debate, discuss different issues that are important to us and things of that nature. I thought last week we got off to a great start. Greg Fleming, and of course, I can't tip my hat enough to Greg for coming on to the first program. No way that's easy. A lot of people didn't know what this program was going to be about, didn't know the direction it was going to go in. There were no, there are no do-overs when the production's live. And for him to come in and handle himself the way he did, whether you agree with everything he said or not is beside the point. The way he came in and handled himself and tried to present his opinions and some of his passions, I thought was a 10.
I really did too, DJ. I tell you, he came in and as we said, he took grenades getting lobbed at him left and right, and he stepped up and he was very informed, made his point and had plenty of points to make. And, we appreciate all the participation from everyone last Wednesday night. We thought that, having Greg on to begin with might help to kind of dispel some of the myths about this show. A lot of those seem to have been going around that maybe this was going to be, I think the term was used, Howard Stern meets Jerry Springer, and that's just was not the case.
Well, I'll tell you, as we've been out and about, the last week or so in town, have had a lot of constructive criticism. A lot of people have offered their opinions on the show. We've welcomed all of it. What we want this to be, and we're not saying by any means this is a finished product. We'll tweak it and twist it and turn it until we get it to where we want it to be in terms of being informative, being entertaining, getting some information out there that you might not have gotten otherwise. We think that's going to help us move on as a community. And your input is absolutely needed for us to continue each and every week. I can assure you we're not going anywhere. One of the concerns I had, or one of the comments I got in town this week was, how long can the show last? How much content do you have? I've lived in Bruton my whole life, and I can assure you there's always content.
There is plenty of content if we're being honest. There will always be something to talk about or to get good ideas and opinions, whatever the case may be. I can honestly say there's never a dull moment in Bruton, Alabama.
And on top of that, and we hit on this last week, the hidden gem in Bruton throughout my lifetime has always been the people. So if there's not a particular issue that's hot to the day or something that we need to discuss, on Wednesday night, we could put the focus on one of the many, many, many great people in our community that do things in our community that never get talked about. And that list is endless as well. So having content week to week is not going to be a problem. I can tell you that in the weeks to come, we're going to have we've had people reach out to us that are going to be seeking political office that want to come on and share their views and show their talents and what they think they can do or what they can offer the city of Bruton, the direction they'd like to see it go. We're going to have incumbent elected officials come on as well. Obviously, everybody's going to be welcome. This will never be controlled by a single person, a single entity. We're not going to be in the business of endorsing different candidates, different ideas, things of that nature. We're going to try to get information out there so you, the people listening in and following us and texting in, calling in, what may have you, you can have good information to act on. And I want to go back to Greg just for a minute from last week. Greg brought up a couple of pretty good points, a couple of pretty good questions, and we went out and tried to get some information on it. We had a call in that had some concerns about the bid laws and if they were being abided by in the city of Bruton. I went out and got a little bit of information on that, and if I understood the information correctly, and I think I did, any city project that is $50,000 or more in cost has to be bidded out. Has to be bidded out.
That was a question that did come up last week, and I asked you about that earlier today, and you said you did go look into that, and that you had found out that it indeed, if it's over $50,000, it has to be bid. But am I correct in less than $50,000 they don't have to bid? Is that correct?
Not necessarily. That's right. And I think if it's an emergency situation, like if you had a natural disaster of some sort and you had to have a service in place immediately, I think there's either some loopholes there to where you don't necessarily have to bid it out, but there's still some guidelines. But anytime you put out a bid, you're going to put out a scope of work, what you expect to be done, timelines it's supposed to be finished, things of that nature, materials used, all that. And then, of course, the different companies, they have to have things in place just to bid on it. You have to have liability. You have to have a $1 million bond plus whatever it may be, just to be qualified to bid. And of course, when the bids are received, normally sealed, of course, by time and date designated by the city in this case, you open the bids. The city also has the option to decline all the bids, to rebid the project out, not accept the bids, however you want to word it. They don't have to accept any of the bids, but they'll more times than not, they'll take the lower bid. I think there is a policy in place where you can accept the local bidder if he's within 3% of the low bid, if you chose to keep the work locally. So a lot of different things there can be exercised by our elected official. But the bottom line is this: I refuse to believe, based on the information that I've received and I've gathered, that any of our elected officials are not abiding by the bid laws. I mean, people go to prison for that quick.
Yeah, I don't see any of that as well, DJ, and certainly from what you have told and explained to me and talking about that earlier this evening, I really don't think there's any of that going on myself.
And let me say this. Greg was not getting way out there saying that was going on. He said he had heard some different things, some different rumblings around town, and that's what we want to do. We want to get good information out there. You like the guy, don't like the guy, that's on you, but make sure you're basing those opinions on facts, on good information, solid information, not on hearsay, not on innuendo.
That's right, and that's exactly what you did. You went and asked the question, went and found out the information, and that's the bottom line.
A second point that was brought up, and I thought it was a very good point as well, was, and we've talked about social media and Bruton Reborn, a page supported, funded, however you want to say it, by the city of Bruton. And Greg had a concern that if you offered a dissenting opinion, that it was censored, whether it was taken off the page, whether you were blocked from posting on the page, what may have you. That was a concern. And you and I at the time both agreed, as long as it was done respectfully, as long as it's you're not cursing, as long as you're not making it a personal attack, dissenting opinions should be allowed.
I think they should be allowed. And if as long as there's no, personal attacks, things of that nature, vulgar or profane statements made, I don't think that that should be a problem for anyone to leave somebody's dissenting opinion up on that any page for that matter, especially one that everybody can go in and put their opinions or state their opinions, I really think that we all should have the opportunity to say, hey, that's a great idea, or hey, here's my idea, or here, I don't like that idea. I really don't have anything to input except to say I don't like that idea, and that should be okay too.
And and kind of played on that just a little bit, and we talked about the opening of the show, the tragic situations and the tragic circumstances that our community has faced here earlier this week, especially with the passing of Devin Spencer, and you can't imagine what that family's going through. In the topic last week, we're talking about a wall. Whether you either like the way it's painted or you don't like the way it's painted, it's a wall. Okay, if we keep things in our proper perspective, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, how big a deal is it? And I'm not trying to trivialize the commitment made by the young ladies who painted it. I'm not trivializing the project at all. But I mean, I have a hard time understanding how that much passion is triggered on a wall. We talked. I didn't mean to cut you off. But we talked last week about what it replaced. There was a building there, the Wheels and Thrills roller rink.
That's right.
That had insulation coming out of the roof. The wood facade was falling down, and the old Lorch's Diamond store right beside it, which is with Hourglass, whatever it came to be, it was falling in as well.
Yes, it was.
So now you have a sodded in lot with a couple of trees, nice sidewalk around it, and a wall that's painted. And you're telling me we're worse off with that than what we had?
Listen, we have to realize that there's a lot of things that a lot of us may like, we may not like, we would rather see something different done in different places. But I agree with you, and I think most people would. It's a whole lot better than what was there.
Sure, has to be.
I mean, definitely from the choo-choo market that goes on in that part of town. I mean, that area, to my knowledge, gets used a lot.
Absolutely. But of course, going back to Greg, and I don't want it to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, because I'm not. Greg made some good points. He had some he created some awareness there on some things that might have been going on. We've researched them as best we could. Not completely sure that things were happening to the degree that he said they were, but the fact that he came in and expressed them the way they did, I thought was just first class on his part. I think that he showed that he can absolutely be a positive asset to this community. He has a lot of passion, a lot of energy. He loves this place. I mean, he was born and bred here and raised here too, and I think he showed that side of it. I don't think there was a segment of people that necessarily knew that side existed to Greg, and I was glad that it came off that way because I've known him for a long time.
Yeah, I don't think they did either, and I got to tell you, I don't know that I did. I was really, I don't want to say shocked. That's a bad word, but I was really happy to see Greg come in, and I didn't realize Greg was as informed and had went down and made the inquiries and things that he had. And I think that somewhat took me by surprise. Listen, that guy was a lot more informed than I was, for sure.
I can tell you this, he cares. There's no doubt that he cares. And one of the things that we hope to do through this program is promote some awareness, get people to take ownership of our town. It belongs to all of us. We said that on the first program. It belongs to every single one of us. If you sit there and rubber stamp everything, if you allow status quo to take place, you become complacent, that's when you deteriorate as a society.
Yes, that is correct. And we can only hope to move forward. We can do all we can to move forward. And listen, there's going to be things that our community leaders do that we don't agree with from time to time. Some of us may agree with it less or more, but the fact of the matter is there are a lot of good things going on in Brewton, for sure. And I think tonight we kind of wanted to highlight some of those things, some of the things coming up and things that are going on in this community that, maybe people know or maybe do not know about.
And those are things that we're going to bring to light. One of the things that Greg does do, and we have others as well, is he's going to keep you on your toes. Greg's watching. Greg cares. I promise you. He's gonna look at it. He's gonna examine it. Oftentimes, be a positive part of it. And I just want to kind of wrap that part of it up, saying how much I appreciated him. I know you did as well. Him coming on here, because that's not an easy thing to do. We hope as this program rocks on the next couple of weeks, people will get a better feel for the direction we're going with it. We'll understand more clearly kind of what our mission is and want to be a part of it. Those of you that are watching the show tonight or may watch it later, please reach out, text us, call us. Who are some of the people you want to hear from? What are some of the things you want to talk about? What are some of the issues that are important to you? Because that's what we're doing this for. We're trying to to create, once again, a community show here where we can talk about the town that we live in, what we can do to make it better, understanding that it's never going to go our way all the time. And like Ken said just a minute ago, got a lot of good people doing a lot of good things in Brewton, Alabama.
A lot of good things and a lot of good projects, a lot of good, ideas that are tossed around daily. I hear a lot of these ideas. I hear a lot of the things that people want to do and want to, how they want to approach these things. And, it's hard to sit here and be able to kind of spit out everything that you do here daily of what we could do here in this town. And, one of the things that we talk about a lot in business arenas is industry and the industry we need more of. But I tell you, we have some industry here, that provides a lot of jobs for Brewton, but we need more. And that's one of the points that was made last week is that, what can we do to get more industry in here? And Greg made the point. He said, I don't know. And, I don't know the answer to that. I'll be the first to say that too. I'm not sure how we do that. I know, DJ, you made a good point with, Atmore. That Atmore is on the opposite end of the county, and they got the kind of casino kind of spearheading that thing. And I was talking to somebody this week about look at Evergreen, Evergreen and the things that Evergreen has got or got going on up there. I realize they're just right off the interstate, but still, we're kind of in between those two, and it just seems like we just kind of maybe our feet are kind of stuck in the mud somewhat.
Well, one of the things that I see as a plus on that, and you talk about being between Evergreen and Atmore and the different things they have going on, all things considered, I understand in a perfect world, you would have the industry and the rooftops, meaning the people living in your community. You'd have all of it. But since that's not necessarily the case right now, and once again, we talked about it last week, how fortunate are we to have Georgia Pacific, to have T.R. Miller Mill, to have Grady, to have the school system we have. I mean, so many wonderful things in our community. Sure, we want better. Sure, we want more. Hopefully that's coming down the road. But those things going on in these other communities right now, I understand you may have to work in one of them, but if you had to live right now, quality of life, education, YMCA, health care, whatever the case may be, would you live in Atmore or Brewton?
No, I think without a doubt the answer would be Brewton, Alabama.
Would you live in Evergreen or Brewton?
Again, I think that would definitely be Brewton, Alabama.
There's no question about it. So, I mean, the fact that we're positioned between these two communities who have some things going on from a industrial development standpoint still has us primed to have the rooftops in our house. In our town. You live here, they'll shop at the grocery stores here, they'll buy their gas here, they'll buy their goods here, funds our tax base, only enhances our already strong school system. And then all of a sudden, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You have the small town lifestyle, which I think most of us enjoy that are here. I certainly hope we do, or you're in the wrong place. But you have those amenities just in the immediate driving area that you can get to in 30 minutes or less.
Yeah, and it's not like back when I think kind of your days or my days of growing up where if we went off somewhere, we got to go to Pensacola.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore. I mean, that's for sure. We have things here locally to do. We have things here, like you said, within 30-minute driving of here that we can go and do things, bowling alleys and movie theaters and things such as that.
I can drive to Zaxby's with my eyes closed. Those hour and a half lunch breaks I take about once a week.
You making a beeline north 31? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, and don't let a hibachi grill show up down in Atmore, Alabama. I can tell you that.
I've made that comment many times. If they open a sushi restaurant down there, it's going to be on.
But a lot of good things going on, and like you said, we have so many people working hard on our behalf. Whether you agree with all their politics or not, that's for you to decide. But it's not like they're there just shooting from the hip. They're not trying. Maybe their efforts have not been successful at this point. But you also don't know what groundwork they've done to possibly make us successful or be beneficiaries. Down the road, 6 months from now, 12 months from now. You don't just wave your magic wand like you said, and all of a sudden have a 500 job plant or facility open up in your community. A lot of legwork has to take place, and I'm pretty confident that that's been taking place in our community for years.
I think so, and I don't know that you and I or 10 more people in here could understand just what kind of legwork it takes to make something like that happen. I don't know the tax side of that and the tax implications and things, the abatements and things such as that. I know that, I think Bruton has a lot to offer an industry to come in here, more industry to come in here, on top of the great industries that we do have. I think we have a lot to offer. I think that this community, the East Bruton, the greater Bruton area community has a lot to offer. It definitely seems prime for the picking.
And Ken, and we've talked about this many times off air, the bottom line is this. As a community, we have to move together. We have to move forward together. I'm not going to, like we said last week, I'm not talking about lining up downtown Bruton, holding hands, singing Kumbaya. I'm just saying, offer the respect and understand that people are working mighty hard to make this a better place each and every day. We're not going to agree on everything. It doesn't have to be personal. We don't have to cut into each other. Let's just try to find a way to agree to disagree respectfully, support when we can, and encourage every opportunity we get.
So one of our texters is texting and says we're talking in circles.
It won't be the last time.
Hey, one thing about this show and about us is we definitely can take, as Greg so eloquently put it, on both chins.
Tell him to go back and listen to the intro. Our business card says we'll call you.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, and by the way, Spinks Megginson is from Bruton. To my knowledge, I knew his.
Oh yeah.
His dad definitely was played football at T.R. Miller High School.
Was a great one.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, DJ, let's take a break here and get out of here for just a little bit. And when we come back, we're going to have, as you said, Bruton's favorite weatherman. We're going to have Spinks Megginson on call in on the telephone here. And we're going to talk about our severe weather we had at the first of the week. So stay tuned for Spinks Megginson. We'll be back in just a minute.
And we're back at Studio B, here with the bottom line. Joining us now on the telephone, Spinks Megginson with the Red Zone Weather. Spinks, good to have you on with us here tonight.
Thanks, David. I'm glad to be here.
Tell you what, you've done, and we hit on it early in the show, you've done an outstanding job with the service you provide the greater Bruton area with severe weather. And I mentioned to Ken and the listening audience, I imagine helmet sales and whistle sales are up 200%, 300% since you launched your product, Red Zone Weather. But I can tell you, man, you get it nailed down to the second as far as the situations we're facing. And I can only speak for myself. I count on every word that you say.
Well, I appreciate that, David. And, I certainly hope that everybody has a helmet or something to put on their head in a tornado. That is just an invaluable thing to do. It can certainly save your life, as I've said many times. And just like the weather we had on Monday, we could certainly have some more in the weeks ahead. So keep that in mind. I recommend a helmet, even a cooking pan, something to shield your head. I know that sounds funny, but it could certainly save your life.
Spinks, are you looking at a computer right now?
Did we lose Spinks?
I'm here.
Spinks, are you looking at a computer right now?
I'm not.
Okay, well, there's a picture of you on our screen here, and I love the blazer. I love the blazer. Want to know where you got it?
I pulled your profile pic, Spinks, from Facebook and put it on. So
there you go.
Spinks, talk a little more in depth about the weather we had Monday, when you knew that it was going to be, in the severe category, when we were going to be facing some real trouble, and just kind of talk about how that afternoon played out from you from a weatherman standpoint or meteorologist standpoint, and the different things that go into making an accurate forecast.
Well, let's talk about the timeline of this thing. And I get incredibly frustrated when I see graphics on national newscasts that say, this storm hit without warning, or no warning for small town residents due to storm. That is simply not true. The first mention of this thing, from my standpoint anyway, on Red Zone Weather was on Thursday, February 11th. That's 5 days out from the event. And we mentioned that there could be a few strong to severe storms on Monday. Late Saturday night, I had a post on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the like, about the marginal risk for severe storms across southwest Alabama and northwest Florida. We did a video on Sunday, which was the day before the event, talking about the potential for isolated tornadoes and damaging straight-line winds. And the same on Monday. We had a morning video posted at 7:05 talking about the enhanced risk for storms later that day. And so there's forecasting for this thing across the board: television, social media, the National Weather Service. All these folks did a fantastic job. Now, during the event, the first tornado watch was issued at 12:02 p.m. So we didn't have any issues in the morning, but the first watch was issued at noon, basically. And then about 6 minutes later, we had the first tornado warning here in Alabama at 12:08. And that was for portions of Conecuh and Monroe County. We actually had a confirmed tornado very near Repton, just to the west of there along US 84. J.T. Johnston, who is the Monroe County Emergency Management Agency director, saw the tornado, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It's probably going to be ranked an EF0 or EF1 in the days ahead as the National Weather Service completes their surveys. But that was the first event. And then we had the action over in the far western part of the region in Clark and Washington counties. And from my knowledge, I don't have any confirmed reports of any storms there, so I should say any touchdowns there. But we certainly did have a touchdown very near here, just to our south in McDavid, Florida. Tornado warning was issued for Escambia and Santa Rosa counties in northwest Florida, and also Escambia County here in South Alabama at 3:25 p.m. So I want you to keep that time in mind, 3:25. Well, at 3:51, the first report came in to me of a large, violent tornado on the ground. And then shortly thereafter, we started getting these videos. You talked about the power of social media just a moment ago. This is what my company is based on. And the fact that we can get these videos in instantly from folks who are on the ground is huge, because research shows if you can show your audience that a large tornado is down, they are more likely to seek shelter, obviously, as compared to just showing a radar. So at 3:51, we got the first report of the tornado being down. So if you put that in perspective, that's 26 minutes of lead time for Century. And for the Bruton area, obviously, we had way more lead time. So all that to say, this was a very well forecast event, and obviously we know it went down in Century. The EF3 tornado touched down just to the west of US Highway 29, very near McDavid, Florida, before barreling into Century, where it produced EF3 grade damage. And then, of course, across the state line and affected areas near Old Fanny Road, just to the east of the greater Fulmerton area. And I can't stress this enough. You know, I've had people say, oh, well, the thing moved around Bruton and we didn't have any issues. Well, that's actually not true. The storm moved directly over the city of Bruton, and the deal is the tornado was not happening. You still had rotation in the atmosphere, and the mesocyclone was present, but the rotation was not extending to the surface, and this thing moved right over the city of Bruton. In fact, I extrapolated the track of the thing as if it had potentially happened, and your track would likely be north of the Methodist Church here in Bruton, basically all the way up to T.R. Miller High School, and that's where it would have entered the city. It would have exited the city very near the experimental station there that Auburn maintains along Sowell Road in the eastern part of Bruton. So this could have been a very big deal to all the folks that took action, not only due to what I said, but the folks on TV and radio and that sort of thing. I commend you. You did the right thing. There's no doubt about it. You know, I pushed these helmets and whistles like David mentioned a minute ago, and those things can absolutely save your life. There's no reason to not take action when we have a tornado warning. And just if I may rant for 1 second, what frustrates me the most, and it is a good thing that folks got sheltered. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me to see folks in the closet and that sort of thing in terms of getting, sheltered due to this tornado. But the deal is, I've had tons of people say, when you got in the bathroom, I knew it was serious. Well, we had about an hour of lead time. It was serious 51 minutes before that. You should have been in the closet 51 minutes before that. And the fact that people waited and were complacent until I did the thing I did and got in the bathroom on the live broadcast, that is something that we don't need to repeat. When we have a tornado warning, you need to take action, and you need to do it right then. No doubt about it.
Spinks, I knew it was serious when I was watching the broadcast you were doing, and when I saw you leave the camera, leave the shot and go get in the bathroom, I told all our people, I said, hey, we need to be getting ready to take shelter, because when the weatherman goes and takes shelter, we should all follow, in my opinion. Or actually, we should have probably already been there.
Well, yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah, it is important when the warning is issued to get sheltered, and you can't wait for me to do it, and especially for the folks that were watching in Century and Fulmerton. And don't get me wrong, I greatly appreciate these folks watching, but I'm not there in Fulmerton or Century, and so just because I take action in my location doesn't mean that you shouldn't have already done that. And from my perspective, I don't want anyone to ever die due to a tornado and the complacency that folks have. Anytime you have a tornado warning polygon issued for your area, you need to get sheltered, and that is the bottom line.
Hey, Spinks, I like that. Spinks, one question for you. The chances of me finding a helmet that'll fit is zero. And my question is, if I wore a colander, if I put a spaghetti colander on, would that provide me the protection that I might need?
I don't know about that, but anything that you can put on your head, that's a good point, David. Anything you can put on your head, whether it be a cooking pan or a helmet, that's where the deaths happen in tornadoes. So grab that colander, grab that cooking pan, anything you can put over your head when you're on the lowest floor of your site-built structure away from windows, that's the best thing you can do.
Spinks, you touched on the tornado coming over Bruton somewhat there. I made the comment to you earlier today that, I wondered if it did that because Bruton being down in kind of the lower elevation, the bowl, so to speak, and you said that had drove you crazy. You had heard that several times. Could you kind of speak on that a little bit?
Ken, there have been rumors and folklore developed, I guess, over the years suggesting exactly what you just said, that Bruton somehow is protected from these violent storms due to the fact that we are in between Burnt Corn and Murder Creeks. That is simply not true, and that is folklore. It's a lie is what it is. And to suggest that, and I've heard it suggested several times over the past few days, it's just not true. And anytime we have a tornado warning here in the greater Bruton area, I don't care if I'm taking action on the air or not. You need to take action immediately. It is critical that we act during these things and don't become complacent. Ken and I were talking earlier today. That is one of my biggest fears, is that we have all these tornado warnings, and generally speaking, nothing happens in your location. That's because in the grand scheme of things, tornadoes are very small, but you don't want to become complacent, ever. That is just a terrible thing to do. You want to act and take these things very seriously, because the fact of the matter is they can kill you. Now, we were very fortunate. We haven't had any deaths reported due to this confirmed tornado that barreled through the area on Monday, but that doesn't mean that next time we won't. And I don't know when that will be, obviously, but it's important to act and act fast when these things are issued, because these are issued by trained meteorologists with years of experience by the National Weather Service office in Mobile. They do a fantastic job issuing warnings for our areas. So hats off to them. I can't say that enough. They did a fantastic job Monday and over all the past few events that we've had over the past few weeks. Excellent job to the Weather Service guys there in Mobile.
Spinks, I have a question, and I hope I can get this framed up correctly. It seems like in the last month to 6 weeks, we've had just some extreme weather, whether it's hot, cold, rain, whatever the case may be. Is there a set of circumstances going on out there that has led to that, or is it just kind of one of those cycles that just happen from time to time?
Yeah, good question. So the deal is we are currently in the El Nino phase of the Southern Oscillation, the ENSO phase there. And basically what that means is the equatorial waters in the Pacific Ocean become warmer at the surface near the Galapagos Islands. And you may be wondering, well, how in the world does that affect weather right here in Brewton, Alabama? The deal is you've got things called teleconnections in the atmosphere. And based on an extreme set of factors it's a lot of geek talk is what it is. But bottom line is, when you're in an El Nino pattern here in the deep south, you get severe weather events more frequently. You get a warmer winter. In the summer, you will get a wetter pattern if it happens to happen in the summer. But we are actually now on the downhill slope out of the El Nino phase. So what that means for us is most likely in the next few months, our pattern will balance out, if you will. And one of the things that's very interesting, over the past 2 years, we had 2 severe weather events up until November of 2015. Since November 1st of 2015, we have had 8 severe weather events here in southwest Alabama and northwest Florida, and that can be directly attributed to El Nino.
Wow. Spinks, you almost seem a little too excited about that.
No way. Well, I don't want severe weather. Certainly not.
Well, Spinks, I saw on Facebook also where Red Zone Weather's branched out now into some clothing, a clothing line. Saw some of the T-shirts out there, and I know that everybody needs to go out and get their Red Zone Weather T-shirt. And tell us a little bit about how you can come across one of those.
Yeah, I just got a text about that wanted to know that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so we're trying to push this brand as hard as we can. And the deal is, the reason I started this company is because the TV stations in our market, we're in the Mobile, Pensacola television market. And as you alluded to earlier, you've got 3, 5, 10, and 15. And these stations do a nice job covering the larger metropolitan areas. However, I've found that they don't do a good job covering the rural areas like Brewton. And so Red Zone Weather is designed to give rural communities like Brewton and others around the region a voice. And moreover, I want to give hyperlocal weather information to everyone. This is a luxury that everyone should have. And you can get a T-shirt by visiting the Facebook page. All you have to do is go to facebook.com/RZWeather, or you can simply visit the website. It's rzweather.com, or you can go to redzoneweather.com. Whatever you choose, it all goes to the same place, and you can order a T-shirt. So that's just one of the ways that we're pushing the brand, David.
Well, Spinks, if you choose to expand the clothing line and you get into slacks, I've got 2 numbers for you. 40-28s. You know, 40-28s. People talk about problems. You don't know what problems are until you spend a day shopping for some trousers, and 40-28s is what you're looking for. I can just tell you they're hard to come by. So if you choose to go there, you can count me in for 5 pair, and you can charge whatever you want.
And Spinks, you don't have those problems. This is a big boy problem. Okay, you don't have those problems.
40-28. I'll keep that in mind.
Spinks, did you catch the lightning bolt that Ken shot in during your last little segment?
you know, I didn't. I'm not in front of a computer,
okay.
But I'm sure it was great.
Listen.
Oh, wait.
heard that. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
A lightning bolt. All right.
A lot of buttons over here, and Ken has fun with every single one of them.
Spinks, one other kind of quick question. We talked a little bit earlier today about social media and with the Facebook mentions and things like that. What are your plans for the future? I know we've talked kind of a little bit about what kind of brought about Red Zone Weather and what you wanted to do, and so what are your plans for the future with Red Zone Weather?
Well, the big deal is I want to continue to cover the rural areas here in Southwest Alabama and Northwest Florida, and moreover, I would like to expand to other places in the state of Alabama. This, like I said earlier, this is my home. I love the people here. I love my friends. I love my family. And this is home, and I care deeply about this region. And so I certainly want to stay local. That's number one. Number two, I want to have a platform for everyone to have access to high-quality weather information. So you may be wondering, how are you going to do that? Well, number one, we're going to continue to push this Red Zone Weather text program. And if you happen to be listening, or watching, I should say, and you want to know about this, visit rzweather.com. It's very easy to opt in. All you have to do is text the word updates to 51660 to get all of our Red Zone Weather updates sent straight to your cell phone. And that's one of the ways. The other way is a website. And so we're in the process of building rzweather.com. The goal is to have that as a landing page for all the folks during times of severe weather and times of blue sky weather. And I'm in the process of working with some folks from across the region to generate some good content for these blue sky weather days that we have. Of course, in the summertime, the forecast, about a 30% shot of showers and thunderstorms throughout each day with highs in the 90s. That gets old very quickly. And so the idea is to generate some ideas and content from not only here in Bruton, but around the region that will pick people's interest. And so that's the immediate future of Red Zone Weather. In the long run, I'll be very honest with you, I think TV, I think radio, they're all on the downhill trend. And I'm not interested in being on the downhill trend. I want to be on the uphill, on the that side of the bell curve. And online, apps, new media, it's on the rise, no doubt about it. I mean, if you talk to people, young folks, where are they? They're on their smartphones. They're on their tablets. They're not watching TV. They don't want to wait until 10 o'clock for the news. That doesn't even make sense. So I want to be on the front side of the bell curve with Red Zone Weather.
Spinks, will it be flip phone friendly?
Our Red Zone Weather text program is flip phone friendly.
That's
I
had it.
Tongue twister.
I had it.
So
I'll tell you,
reasons we did it.
I'll tell you, Spinks. If you don't have that text program of Spinks has, that is I'll tell you, it's fantastic. I've had it since Spinks announced it. I can't exactly remember where. Was it the rodeo that you announced that, Spinks?
It was the rodeo, the Chevrolet rodeo.
That's what I thought. I thought it was the rodeo when you announced the text program, and lots of people in our community get a lot of use out of that program. Spinks, we had a text question that wanted to know about advertising opportunities with Red Zone Weather and what they would need to do to advertise with you.
I appreciate that, Ken. Yeah, so it's very easy to do. All you have to do is shoot me a private message on the Facebook page or Twitter or text or however you want to reach me. That's fine. And we do have many opportunities available for advertising, not only on our videos, not only on the website, but some unique opportunities that we're going to be talking about very soon that the public has not seen just yet. So be on the lookout for some great new content from Red Zone Weather in the future. I'll just leave it at that.
Spinks, I got a question kind of along those same lines, and I guess I'm kind of making light of a serious situation. But like if severe weather is headed our way and we know it, could a business entity or an individual possibly sponsor a tornado?
Well, the deal is we have severe weather coverage sponsors, yes.
Okay.
To answer your question in short, yes. We have options available, and they can certainly contact me if they're interested.
Spinks, real quick, again, talk a little bit about, if you would, the drone footage that we saw, that I saw on your Facebook page. I thought that was just phenomenal. And I remember telling you today, I'm just amazed you can operate that thing, because I can't. I've tried, and I can't get one of the things to go forward, backwards. I can get it to go up, but I can't get it to do anything after that.
Well, thank you, first of all, Ken. And the drone, let me be very clear about the drone. The drone is a personal thing that I do. It's not affiliated with Red Zone Group LLC. And in the months ahead, you will certainly see more content from the drone. It's a deal that's fairly new to me, and we just happened to get it at a time when we had this terrible tornado in Fulmerton and in Century. And so yesterday I went down to the region and not only talked to some folks, but sent up the drone and saw these incredible sites of damage. And I say incredible, I should say just horrendous sites of damage. So it was an incredible opportunity to see just how powerful Mother Nature can be from the air. And I do want to say this quickly. We are incredibly blessed here in the greater Brewton area. If you look at the poverty line for the United States, the poverty line for a household of 4 is $23,283. Here in the greater Brewton area, in the city of Brewton, I should say, the median household income level is $34,390. For the city of Century in northern Escambia County, Florida, the poverty line, excuse me, I apologize. The average household income there is $20,703. And so one of the things that makes me incredibly sad is that region will not be eligible for federal money in terms of disaster assistance. So you may be wondering why. Well, the deal is you have to have at least $75 million in terms of damage from a respective natural disaster. And because of the arguably intense level of poverty, not only in Century but in surrounding areas, unfortunately, the region will not sustain that amount. And I say unfortunately, obviously we don't want any structures damaged, but for the folks who don't have insurance, that is just a tremendous burden to bear. And so I would like to say to our community, we are so fortunate here in the greater Brewton area. I hope that we will rally around these folks in Fulmerton and Century that would certainly help us in our hour of need.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Spinks. You know, you and I had talked about that a little earlier when I spoke to you about coming on the show tonight. We spoke about the need for help in those areas, and as my understanding, they're not going to have any help in those areas.
Well, that's exactly right, Ken. From the federal government, from my understanding, there won't be any federal disaster relief money. Now, you will have, of course, private groups coming in, but the level of federal support would far surpass the private support, obviously. And so my heart goes out to the folks who didn't have insurance, property insurance, that were affected by the storm. And obviously we hope and pray that one like this never happens again in that area.
Spinks, real quick, and this is on a much lighter note, I want to get to the bottom line of something. In Brewton, who's your favorite uncle, Hal or Bill?
You know, I love them both. I'm going to leave it at that. They are both fantastic. They are both fantastic. I love them dearly.
Spinks, well, we want to thank you for coming on and appreciate you clearing up some of the issues that we've talked about here tonight. I know I was one of the ones under the impression that the Brewton was in a bowl, and that's what saved us. So I definitely want to thank you for clearing that up.
Absolutely, Spinks. A job well done.
Thank you. I appreciate your encouraging words, and I appreciate both of you sharing the content on Red Zone Weather. And for those of you that may be watching, I just want to say this. Facebook is a fantastic outlet for getting content out, but the deal is if you don't interact with a page on a regular basis, or a profile for that matter, you don't see the content. And so anytime you can like or share or comment on one of my Red Zone Weather posts, that boosts the EdgeRank algorithm that Facebook uses, and that helps me out directly. And so I certainly appreciate each person who has done that and continues to do that on a regular basis. We wouldn't be what we are without you. And the fact of the matter is, the bottom line is, I should say, that the folks that like the page and regularly interact with the content are driving the success, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Well, Spinks, again, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure with as many severe weather patterns as that we've had over the last several weeks, I'm sure they're probably, hate to say it, but I'm sure there's probably more to come. So I'm sure we'll probably have you back again. But listen, thank you so much for coming on. And if you're out there, stay tuned to Red Zone Weather for all your local weather updates and things. And David, I think we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a minute.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Spinks. Appreciate it.
Back here at the bottom line to close things up, another great hour. And how awesome was Spinks?
Oh, he was fantastic. Spinks, just thank you again for coming on. I mean, if you couldn't get a lot of good, I got a lot of great info out of that. I'll be honest with you.
I'll tell you what he said, and I was guilty of it Monday. You better seek safe shelter prior to him telling you. I mean, we should have been 50 minutes out doing what we were doing 2 minutes out. And I can tell you, I went inside when Spinks got in the bathtub and came out when he came out. And I learned here tonight that's not the thing to do. You have to be more safe than that. But really do appreciate the passion he has, not only for his trade and being a meteorologist, but also how he feels about our town. And I say our town. We've had 2 guests, 2 shows, 2 people, 2 different personalities. Both of them love Bruton. Both of them have passion. We just got to get this entire town pulling the rope in the right way. Same way.
Listen, if we can all make that happen and get everything headed in the same direction, I don't think there's anything that we can't accomplish in Bruton, and Bruton will be better for it. That's for sure. And that's the bottom line. That's for sure. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Next week, there'll be something different. I can assure you.
Definitely want to hear from people. What are some of the things, what are some of the interests you have? Who are some of the folks you want to hear from? What are some of the issues you want addressed? And we will do everything in our power to make it happen next Wednesday, 8 o'clock here at the bottom line.
That's right. We will catch you next Wednesday, 8 o'clock.
The Bottom Line was brought to you by Bossman Productions. The views expressed by call-in guest or in-studio guest are not necessarily those of The Bottom Line, the host, Bossman Productions, other advertisers, or any affiliate of The Bottom Line. The Bottom Line is for entertainment purposes only.